Welcome back to Grand Plans. I'm Susanna Barton, and today's conversation is one that so many caregivers really need to hear. My guest is Susan Stern. She's a caregiver coach in Orlando and a board-certified life coach and certified dementia practitioner. She's a healthcare leader and a former dementia caregiver to her own parent. Susan brings more than credentials to this work. She brings lived experience, medical insight, and a very deep commitment to helping overgivers give from overflow instead of depletion. Today, we're talking about crisis mode, delayed planning, legal blind spots, caregiver health risks, and how planning ahead can actually be an act of care, not fear. If you're caring for someone, love someone who is or know caregiving may one day be part of your story, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in. All right. Well, welcome back to the Grand Plans podcast. We're into season 4, episode 5. And today I'm here with Susan Stern, who is a caregiver coach from Orlando, Florida. I'm going to let her tell you a lot more about what she does, but she has more than 20 years of experience in medical care and healthcare leadership. She's a board-certified life coach, and she's a certified dementia practitioner. She does speaking engagements. She's a caregiver advocate, and I'm so excited to have her on the podcast today. So, Susan, welcome. I look forward to hearing more about what you do.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for what you do.
Well, it's fun. And maybe I should start out by saying this is a great example of kind of the ecosystem of professionals that are involved in elder services or services for older adults. And that's how I met you, through a colleague from my gerontology studies at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. So it's very fun to meet everybody and see where people, find their space in this area of work. So tell me a little bit about what you do and how you got into it.
Okay. Well, what I do is I have a business, Spring to Life Coaching, and I work with family caregivers. The family caregivers who are exhausted from overgiving. I help them set some loving boundaries so they can still care deeply without trying to carry everything on their own. So I do some one-on-one sessions. So I actually had a career change. I had 20 years as a speech-language pathologist. I worked in the hospital and then private practice. And then I was also caregiving. I was a long-distance caregiver to my dad, who lived with my mom in New Jersey, and I'm in Florida. And he had multiple cancers and a lot of different health issues for over 13 years. So I was one of his long-distance caregivers. And he passed away in 2014. And then soon after that, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So I moved her down here to Florida so I could care for her. And the life of a caregiver, it's life-changing, as you know. And so it just pivoted my direction of what I wanted to do with my life. And I really developed a heart and passion for wanting to support family caregivers.
Did you feel at the time when you were both a remote caregiver and all hands on deck with your mom, did you find that you had the support you needed to do your work?
I think as a long-distance caregiver, I did, because also there was, different siblings helping. I was the furthest away. I had my dad's brother, who was really the primary caregiver, and my mom helping too. So there was a lot of people on deck for my dad, but me moving my mom down to Florida, which is 1,000 miles away from everyone else, it was just me. So I really leaned in on my husband for some emotional support, and then hiring some additional support when the time came when it just become unsustainable for me to do it all alone.
And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. And I know 1 in 4 of us are caregivers. I think that's the latest statistic from AARP that, it's a lot of us who are out there doing this work. I think there's a sense of feeling like you have to do it on your own, that you're in this by yourself. When and how did you come to the realization that that more support is needed and that you could be that kind of support to others going through it?
Yeah, great question. I think recognizing I needed support was when I was having some health scares. I had 3 cancer scares in a period of few months, and my body was screaming, you need to do it differently. And I was a sandwich caregiver. I was still caring for my son who was younger. So it didn't happen in one conversation with my mom. When I said I need some help, I need to bring in some, hired caregivers, the answer was no. So I had to have multiple conversations, and then it just hit a point where I just had to stop and just let her know I need to bring in help is non-negotiable. And what was your other question?
So how did you, I guess, realize that you could be that person who is delivering support to others going through the same experience?
Yeah, it was funny. When I decided to become a life coach, I did some training, and I did not think about becoming a caregiver coach. I was thinking, we'll help people in life transition, something easy, lighthearted. But then I had a family caregiver who, her mom just had a recent dementia diagnosis. She asked me to coach her. So I did that. And just after one meeting with her, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I just saw you have all this life experience and all the emotional part that goes with it that you really can't explain. You have to live it. And that's when I thought, okay, I really want to make this part of my purpose in helping others.
That's so beautiful. And it's, I think we do all learn important things to pass on to other people. And what were some of the things that you had learned that very quickly became, the first things that you would encourage people to do as caregivers? What were some of the big takeaway lessons from your own experience that has helped others?
Yeah, I think how you approach the person that you're caring for is really important. So wanting to develop that sense of trust. So I just really helping my mom know I didn't want to boss her around. I wanted like a partnership that, will handle things together. So I just wanted to work on that. Also just getting the legal paperwork in order was really helpful. So my mom had a surgery, some neck surgery, and that was really a catalyst for me to get things, set up for her. And I'm so glad I did. It just made life easier down the line because there's so often people are asking for that durable power of attorney. And, thankfully I had it while she still had capacity to do that.
And tell me about the conversations that you and your parents had in both experiences, and what kinds of conversations you think are important given your experience and ones you've seen through your work. How important is the conversation piece to planning and being an effective caregiver?
Yeah, that conversation is huge. With my dad, it was different, and it's interesting. I didn't realize I was a caregiver. I just thought I was a daughter helping out. It really, honestly, wasn't until after he passed away that I recognized it. So conversations I had with him is just letting him know that I would take care of his wife, his wife of 45 years, because he was on hospice. So he knew he was going to leave, and he knew my mom already had signs of dementia. So we knew we had another hurdle ahead of us. So I think that brought him peace, and just knowing that was going to be the step forward. And with my mom, it would be it would be sharing the why of what I was doing things. So an example would be when she was living in independent living, I had cameras in her apartment, and I let her know why. I didn't just put it up there, not tell her. I had a conversation before I did it, and I let her know why. I said, Mom, if I call you and you don't answer, I need to know, are you in the dining room downstairs? Are you taking a nap? Or did you fall and you're on the floor? I said, by having those cameras in place, that'll help keep you safe and help me know how to help you. So she was all on board with that. So having that, conversation is really helpful. That's
right.
Just an example.
Yeah, conversation is so important. And earlier you mentioned having your power of attorney documents and some of that planning as part of, with some of the things that you all went through. How important is that conversation? Getting into, thinking about your power of attorney documents, your healthcare proxy documents, that kind of thing. When should people be having that conversation, and why is it so important to have those documents in place?
I think that's the first conversation you really should be having. It's very important because it's health. You never know what's going to happen. When I used to work at the hospital, people had life-changing events in a day. So you really want to have things done and set up right away. And when I attend support groups, that is what the people who've been at the support groups longer tell the new people. Hey, make sure you have your paperwork, because that's how you can get things done. And also it's a way to honor the person's wishes too, especially if there is a dementia diagnosis, that things are going to progress.
And let's get into that a little bit too, that, with the dementia diagnosis, are people prepared for what that is all about and what's to come? Dementia, I feel like, adds so much into the equation that people aren't ready for, and it's emotionally challenging, and there's a lot to consider. How do you counsel both your clients who are providing the care, and do you ever talk to families just about what to expect with a dementia diagnosis?
Yeah, I do. It's having conversations as far as what do they need to take care of right now. So looking at today is really important, because especially with a dementia diagnosis, if you look ahead at what that journey could be like, which could be 10 years, that could be really overwhelming, and that can shut anyone down. So looking at what do you need to get done today, and then giving that education as far as what stage that person is in. So communication strategies, how you approach them, is really helpful, because that affects the relationship.
Right.
And getting the tools. And there's a lot of great resources too. So it's a balance. You want to be able to share enough information so people know what next steps to take without being so overwhelmed that they're paralyzed and they don't want to move forward.
That's a lot of important conversation. When is the best time for people to work with someone like you, with a coach? Is it when they're in the throes of their situation, their caregiving situation, or is it ahead of time? Where do your clients fall in terms of where they are in their caregiving journey?
Okay. Well, I'd say majority are often in crisis mode, where it's somebody else who is working to support them, recognizes how stressed they are and that they need some extra support. So that's often a time. But there have been referrals that also people at the beginning, maybe there's just a new diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment. I think a lot depends on personality types. So people who are really proactive and want to plan ahead, especially if there are no adult children or no siblings, they might be more proactive in getting things done. And I've had people where it's, a primary family caregiver, but also some other family members on the call. So we're all on the same page. How are we going to approach taking care of mom? And I think that's really important. And so knowing also how best to support that primary family caregiver too. So yeah, a combination of emotional support education, sharing resources can really turn things around.
Yeah. And I'm imagining it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of solution to someone's caregiving crisis, but are there fundamental elements that are helpful for every caregiver who needs some support?
Yeah, I think there is some mindset work. So having conversations with me as a coach and other people in the community, that I like to say there are two people on this journey, this caregiving journey, the person you're caring for and you, and that you have to take care of yourself too. So we hear the term self-care, and I like to let them know it's really self-preservation. It's not just, massages and bonbons, which would be nice, but it really is taking better care of yourself, prioritizing yourself so you're able to take care of your person because you care deeply. So it's not being selfish. And that also is not one conversation. There is retraining the brain. And with dementia too, it's helping them learn to look for the good. It can feel so heavy. And having them open up and allow some space to let the good also happen. And, not be on such high alert and hypervigilant, because that's, again, not sustainable. That would just put you on the path of burnout and chronic stress.
And I know we're going to talk about planning and that kind of thing, but it seems like with some caregiving situations, or maybe most of them, it just feels so intense and so ongoing and so, like, when is this going to end? This is hard. And how do you get people to get their head in the game without feeling like it's hopeless? I mean, it's there's a lot of emotion there, I think. How do you get people to a positive mindset to start with? Because I guess sometimes it feels like, things I don't know how to get out of this.
Well, exactly. Well, and you don't want that toxic positivity, of course, either. So it really is sharing what's real right now, being honest, sharing the feelings, getting some validation, and normalizing those feelings too. So when a caregiver says, I can't wait till this is over, and I let them know this is normal to feel this way. Today I feel done. That makes sense. So the person has to really have their feelings validated, to recognize that. Then they can open up, but I don't want to continue to stay this way. So those who are open and ready to kind of step out a little bit to do things differently, they're in a better position to then be open to looking for some of the good that also is happening. I like to start my sessions off with a win, like what's something that's going well. It can be small. You had a great cup of coffee. It's the micro moments of joy, and that's something they build up. They can build up.
And that mindset shift is probably very important to keeping on a positive track and just being accepting of the situation and how you can help, I would imagine.
Yeah, I know for me, my mindset definitely did change. I'm someone who was always scanning for threats, what could go wrong. And my husband would say, you'd make a great security engineer, because I could detect what, might, all the what ifs. So it's turning down the volume of that anxiety, yet still planning ahead. So in that way, you're, in a safe place.
Well, speaking of planning, in your line of work, what do you see as the most misunderstood aspect of aging or later life planning within your area of expertise?
I'd say that caregivers assuming and counting on that they're going to live longer than the person that they're caring for. Because, especially if that's an adult child, because there's statistics that show that chronic stress of caregiving, if there's lack of support, isolation, increases the mortality rate for the caregiver. So I think assuming that, you'll take care of yourself after the caregiving season is over can be very detrimental. So it's important to recognize, because you don't want to wait 10 years to go to the doctors and things like that.
No. Well, yeah, there's a lot to think about in the planning, but what are one or two early planning steps people can be taking now before they need someone like you or some other kind of support?
Well, I think getting planning as far as just some education on whatever disease process is going on with the person that you're caring for, because the knowledge can help you. And also just looking for possibly, caregiver support groups. They are so rich in knowledge too, because they're, a few steps or maybe many steps ahead of you that you can find out what local resources might be available. So just some education and, like I said, getting that legal paperwork set up is really, it takes some of the pressure off. That could be really problematic.
Right. It definitely mitigates stress in the moment when you can produce the right paperwork. That seems like such a small thing, but it's fundamental, I think. Yeah.
Well, and also when you're in your mid-40s, perhaps as a caregiver, that's how old I was when I started, that, I may not be thinking about my long-term future or my plans. I'm so focused on, let me make sure I have everything set up for my mom, that, that's something else that support groups, they'll say, well, make sure you have all your stuff organized, because if something were to happen to you, we need to be able to have plans in place to be able to take care of your person, but also your own family.
And that's self-care right there. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Can you share an example or two, without naming names or violating any confidentiality, about how good planning may have changed a client's or family's life for the better in your experience?
Yeah, sure. I had an experience, and this was actually a friend who observed what I went through with my mom. And her mom was actually even older than my mom, but she was in good health. And then my friend recognized my mom is doing a lot independently. There's a lot I don't know. If something were to happen, I wouldn't know where everything is. So that sparked her to want to have a conversation with her mom. So I suggested getting one of those like peace of mind planner books that just kind of lay out all the different things that she would need to know if there was a medical crisis or something, more serious than that. And she had and her mom was open and ready for that. So they sat down, they had a 2-hour conversation, they filled up that whole book, and there were a lot of ahas there. She recognized, wow, I didn't know where that was in her house. I didn't know you had that credit card. So it's just having those conversations. So that was an ideal scenario because you had two people who were ready to talk. Sometimes one person's ready and that other person maybe not, because of their own fear of mortality.
And those are the ones I hear about more so often, is that there's an imbalance. One person wants to talk about it, the other person is not down. So is that the same in your line of work, or do you feel like it's pretty evenly balanced?
No, I agree with you. I think that probably is more the norm. I think it's hard to do. And like I mentioned at the beginning, like that someday mentality is something, I'll take care of that someday. I think how we approach the conversation is really important again. So coming at it with compassion, curiosity versus, okay, Mom, we're gonna get this done now. Especially in that adult-child parent relationship, the mom still wants to be the mom. So approach and language is really important.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good to talk about these things and, think how we can approach these with our own parents and our friends' parents and ourselves. Most importantly, to make sure we're having those conversations with our people as well. if there's one or two takeaways people can have from our conversation and from the experiences that you've had, what would you want that to be? What are some of the big takeaways from your experiences that would help others?
When you care for yourself today, you give yourself more capacity to care tomorrow. And it doesn't have to be big things. I'm big on taking small, steady steps. So in that way, things aren't too scary. So, for example, like if you have that planner, maybe you feel so intimidated. Maybe your step one is I'm just going to look at the first chapter. I'm just going to go ahead, open the book and look at it. Just doing small, doable steps in the right direction to keep moving you forward is really important.
That is so important. I have a grand planner, a book that helps people align their paperwork and their important documents and their wishes and all of that. And you're right. It's just in small bites is the most effective way, I think, to approach that. So thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I don't know, I think I love what you do. I think you impact so many people because so many of us are caregivers today, and that's a number that's only going to keep growing as the number of older adults increases. So thank you for helping everyone and sharing your wisdom. And if people want to know more about what you do and how to access more information, where can they go?
They can go to my website, springtolifecoaching.com. And I even have a free resource they can click onto. It's self-care recharge ideas. And they can just take 5 minutes at a time, some ideas of what they can do, 15, just those small steps of taking care of yourself. Add up.
That's so true. Well, Susan, thank you for joining us on the podcast today and sharing all of your great information. And I look forward to learning more about you and what you do. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. My pleasure, Susanna.
I'm so thankful to Susan for her clarity and compassion and the reminder that presence over pressure matters, especially in aging conversations. If there's one takeaway from today's interview, it's this, in my opinion. Small steps taken now protect your future capacity to care, to love, and to live well. Caregivers don't need stamina. They need strategy, support, and space to plan for themselves, too. To learn more about Susan Stern and her caregiver coaching work, you can connect with her online. Her website is springtolifecoaching.com, so you can find her there. And to all of you listening, remember, planning ahead is not pessimistic. It's a very generous act to the people you love. It's loving. It's one of the most powerful gifts that you can give to your future self and your loved ones. Until next time, keep making your grand plans, and we'll see you on the next episode.